You're kind of like a chef at a decent restaurant, but not a great restaurant. Because if you're at a great restaurant, you can say no substitutions, no changes. This is how I cook the steak. This is how I cook the tuna.
Right.
The salad always has the dressing on it. You can't have it on the side. So if you're one of those restaurants, you're the auteur. That doesn't happen. But it's the restaurant where you say, well, how would you like the steak, sir?
Right.
And if you, as a trained chef, feel like it should be cooked just this way, but the customer says burn the fuck out of it, you burn the fuck out of it.
Okay, because you want that customer to come back.
Yeah, exactly. Although, of course, in the restaurant business, if they say burn the fuck, you give them the old steak that you're about to throw out.
The first cut. The first cut.
I'll just teach you simple cuts to start with.
Hi, welcome to In the Cut. I'm Baron Vaughn, and today I'm speaking to Ivan Victor, who has worked on many a thing from Tom Green Show to Parks and Rec. Hello there, Ivan.
Hello.
Well, I guess I'm a little curious about the difference between, because you've worked on a lot of comedy, starting with the Tom Green stuff, and I see that you've worked on things like 1600 Pin very recently, as well as Parks and Rec, things like Curb Your Enthusiasm, et cetera, et cetera. And I guess I was curious as to what the difference is between working on a scripted show as opposed to something that's chaotic like a Jackass.
The difference is that a scripted show is more about executing and improving an idea that's been well thought out. For example, in Parks and Rec, those scripts were really tight, really honed. There was improv on top of them, and it was a case of finding the best performance with the best shot size. If there was a good improv, fitting that in, as opposed to something like Jackass, where it's what's the bit here? There was a bit that I cut in the first season called Squid Suit.
I already like the sound of it.
Where Johnny Knoxville goes and puts on some overalls that have hooks on them that are covered in squid. The idea was that he would walk down to the beach, or hobble because he'd broken his ankle jumping the LA River, and see if he'd get attacked by seagulls.
Okay.
And what happened in the shoot was he walks to the beach, nothing happens. And at the end, he goes to the Redondo Pier and jumps in the ocean. And everyone said, this is a bust. It's fucked. It's a wash.
Right.
The cameraman was shooting across the line. So one of the cameramen was pretty consistently in the other cameraman's shot, and he was getting pissed off. He's going, Nate, get the fuck out of the shot. Get out of the shot.
Right.
So I made the bit about Nate being in the shot. So I had an arrow with Nate's name saying Nate. So you'd see PJ walking down the beach, and there'd be a shot here, and you'd see Nate crouching behind the wall getting him. So the bit became the fact that they were in each other's way, and Rick was getting really pissed off at Nate.
That's just so meta.
Yeah. So, for example, on Curb Your Enthusiasm or any of these scripted shows, you're not particularly doing something that extreme.
Right, because there's already,
because there's already a good idea.
It's executing the idea that's already there.
Next question.
Okay. Well, it kind of leads me into, like, who is it that's typically over your shoulder? So you kind of do that, but who is it that you will have in a room sometimes that you're like, I wish you weren't here?
Nobody. They're all wonderful.
What a diplomatic answer.
They're great. Again, on the network stuff, typically the rule is no one gets to see anything before the director does. So you'll get your dailies. They'll shoot 5 days for a half hour. You get 2 to 3 days after dailies to get your cut out. Then you'll work with the director for a day or two. Then the executive producers will see it. And typically you'll then just work with the showrunner. And because their job is so busy, they'll come down for an hour here, for an hour there. You'll
show them what you got.
Yeah, they'll leave you with some notes. And over the course of a week or so, they'll come down for enough time to get it good enough to go to network.
Without blowing up anybody's names or anything, can you think of a particular experience that was rather unpleasant?
No, they've all been great.
Okay, how about a particular experience
Not going there.
that was rather pleasant?
They've all been...
Equal diplomacy, I appreciate it.
The thing is, there's several aspects to the job of editing,
right?
And one of them is the social aspect,
right?
And you'll come across actors who are also executive producers who give you notes, executive producers who maybe don't have the best bedside manner, And if you want to keep working, you have to take it all on board. Then you'll get network notes, and generally the showrunner or the executive producer will be a buffer between you and those notes. But I've worked with alongside a lot of editors who do multiple, will just never stop noodling. And for me, I get to a point where I feel like, oh, this is good. I could noodle. If you have time, you can cut
because
a scene
you will
15 different ways. I just feel like there's a point at which it's good. Let's move on.
Because you're going to get notes anyway, right?
Yeah.
After that. Okay.
Yeah. You're going to get notes too.
Well, I'm just making sure I'm getting this bad boy going, man. I am just...
You're doing a great job. Employee of the month right now.
I don't know about that. Okay. Okay. Well, this is related to Jackass, in a sense. What is the difference in Jackass, and how often, I would assume this would come up a lot, between something that is funny or just painful?
What's the difference?
Well, did that come up where we're just like, okay, we thought it was going to be
plain
funny.
Wrong?
Yeah, we thought this was going to be funny, but this is just now disgusting. Did they ever have a line like that? They're just like,
No.
There's no, you can't remember anything where there was like a particular debate about a certain.
The debates were more with MTV. There was a bit where, I don't know if you remember, where Steve-O made an omelette. Steve-O and Dave England made an omelette.
Okay.
By
I don't remember.
eating the ingredients for an omelette, then vomiting them up into a pan and cooking them.
Okay.
No, Dave England did that, and then Steve-O ate the omelette, and then he vomited.
Okay.
Remember that one? And MTV made us reshoot it based on OSHA standards. So everybody had to be wearing hazmat suits, and they had to make sure that the vomit omelette was cooked to a certain temperature. So there were two versions of that. But that wasn't too disgusting.
So, I'm sorry, what standards again?
OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health.
So they have standards for vomits?
Well, they have standards for bloodborne pathogens. And even though it's vomit, it's apparently bloodborne pathogens.
Okay.
So if it's been vomited, it has to be heated to a certain temperature to kill the...
Now I see what you're saying.
But I feel it's kind of like yogurt. Apricot yogurt.
Okay, now I know what you're talking
welcome.
about. If you pronounce it differently.
But I feel like you heat it up, where's the goodness?
Where is the goodness? So you got to have a vomit medium rare.
I actually did have one if you
Okay, tell it to me.
Okay,
and then look at me while she asks it. I'll move my mouth like I'm saying it. Go ahead.
But what's it like working in the edit suite with a director who's also in what you're cutting? So working with Larry or working with Amy, because she directed the debate and she's also obviously featured in it. Is there a different dynamic when they're cutting themselves or helping you? Or
Great question. Best question yet, actually.
Oh, okay.
I think it just comes down to who the person is, because I've worked with some talent who aren't very good at cutting themselves and others who are great. And that's just a function of whether they have that skill and that ability to divorce themselves from their own performance or bits that they really loved. It's a case of, are they able to take a step back and
objective.
service the story
Right.
and the comedy? Because a lot of times some people will say, I really want to be in a close-up there, or there was a take where I did this, or there's a take where I did that, which doesn't particularly serve the story.
Right.
One of the advantages...
Serves them, but not the story.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say one of the things is that also in TV, you're dealing with the executive producer / showrunner who you're working with, but then you're also dealing with, if it's for, say, MTV, the MTV executives. Then if you're doing a network show, you've got the studio and then you have the network. So you're getting notes from multiple sources and dealing with multiple people's agendas and desires. And there are, for example, 1600 Pen, the first episode I worked on, the initial cut we sent was much more cinematic than the final show ended up being. The studio wanted it to have more of a typical TV feel where you're in a wide shot, you're in a medium shot, you're in a close-up, you're on the joke, let's have the close-up.
Okay.
Which is a visual language that people really recognize.
Yeah.
Whereas there were ways to cut that show where you could have much longer takes, but it just wouldn't feel like a TV show. I really love comedy that has heart to it, and I think with Parks and Rec, one of the things you get with a lot of the characters is that there's a grounding to it. FDR American Badass, for example, Barry Bostwick plays FDR, and he plays it really real, even though it's ridiculous. And I think for a lot of comedy, it makes it work better if it's actually grounded. And then when you have ridiculous moments, they came playing because there's a contrast as well.
Right. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.